and welcome to another episode of the From Her View podcast with me, Sade Camille, and I am always excited to continue the series of What? Check yourself before you wreck yourself. So this is all about assessing ourselves, self-awareness. What does that look like? Where do I even start? And so, if you've listened to the intro, you know that the tests that we are going over are going to be the Myers-Briggs, the DISC assessment, and then we're also going to be going over the Clifton-Strong's assessment. And what I really like about all of these, like I said in our intro video, is that they all have something a little bit different that you don't get from the other one that kind of gives you an overarching picture of yourself. One of them tells you what your strengths are and focuses on how can you hone in and best operate in your strength, not only unconsciously, but consciously. The other shows you how you are in situations where you are in full consciousness and comfortability. And then the other one, it also talks about how you react or act when you are in a scenario where you are being observed or in not like the most comfortable scenario, who you are. And then the other is a test that shows your personality type, not only your personality type, but how you navigate all the scenarios that are common to us in our lives, right? How you operate in relationships, how you operate as a parent. And these are all tools that we can use that can be used for you and your loved ones to better come to a place of understanding and a place of improvement, because one of those tests shows you, well, two of them actually do talk about your weaknesses, which are very important. A weakness to me means something that I don't innately do or know necessarily how to do, have language for doing it. So that would be a weakness to me. And you are able to check yourself before you wreck yourself. Because if I know areas in which I fall short, I know how to properly navigate myself in order to make those improvements. But you don't know what you don't know, what you don't know. So this is what brings us to today's episode, which we're going to be going over the DISC assessment, which is D.I.S.C assessment. And this is my favorite one because it is something that I've been introduced to this by Eric Thomas, E.T. the Hip Hop Preacher, and I really like it because it shows you who you are authentically, and not necessarily who you are inauthentically, but like how are you in situations that you are being observed. So your natural reaction versus your controlled reaction. So who I am instinctively to my core, my natural nature, versus how I would say like how I would display myself to the world, but that isn't necessarily the case either. I don't even know how they word it, but they call it, your adaptive self and then your natural self. So when you're adapting to a situation versus how you naturally handle a situation. So going into that, I'm gonna go ahead and pull up my scores because you know how I get down. I'm not going to tell you about something that I didn't do. So one of the other things that I like about this assessment in particular is that Eric uses this as a tool in order to help people succeed. So if you don't know who Eric Thomas is, he is heavily in personal development, #1 motivational speaker, has an amazing podcast that you should check out, the Secret to Success podcast that I absolutely adore. And he practices what he preaches, as we all should, as I am. I can't bring things to light to you that doesn't have any sort of resonation with myself. It would be so inauthentic, and that's just not how I get down. There's enough people being inauthentic, not only to others, but to themselves in this world. I don't want to partake, nor do I want to be a part of those individuals. So that's not how I get down. However, I wanted to share this idea with you all because I think it is important to have a basis line on how I am versus how my partner is. If I have understanding of who my partner is, then I know how to move and operate. When I know that, hey, my partner, like something, like for myself, I can only speak for myself. When something gut-wrenching happens to me, like let's say like the loss of a loved one, I have a delayed reaction to my emotion. It does not mean that I am heartless. It does not mean that I don't care. It doesn't mean that, oh, she's so strong, she's taking it well. It's like my brain is processing this because my brain is like, what do you mean? This isn't real. This isn't real. Like, this isn't real. Like, I buried my mother and it still wasn't real to me. Like, it wasn't real to me for a very long time. And this is someone that I interacted with on a weekly basis, you know? That's how I am. If my partner knows that about me, he'll also know that when I am like, oh my God, like when I get hit with it, because I will get hit like a ton of bricks. They would know, okay, she's just in a state of processing it. I'm not gonna be like, tell me how you feel, tell me how you feel, tell me how you feel, tell me how you feel. I'm just gonna love her through it because I know this about this person. So it's one of those things that can be used for us to level up in relationship. That's something that I'm trying to do with this year, is level up in all aspects of my life. And this is why it matters what you eat, what you eat, and what you eat. Okay? What you eat and then what you eat. So what are you digesting on a daily basis? I love the Secret to Success podcast because these gentlemen are actively giving us gems and jewels for free 99. It's free 99. It's on YouTube, it's on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you can get a podcast for free 99. And they are, living what they're preaching. They say all the time, which I say, right? But it's different because I don't know what it's like to be a man. I understand some things, but at the end of the day, I am not a man. I am a woman. And so I navigate life as a woman. But one thing that I do know is that they say on their podcast all the time, if you are a person who thinks you're the man because your business is going well, but you are failing when it comes to being a present father, being a present husband, um, you know, taking care of yourself as far as your health, preparing your family for the future. He's like, you're not impressive to me. He's like, I honestly don't care what you think about me for real, because the only person I care about, what they think about me, is my wife. If my wife says he the man, oh, I'm definitely the man. And I don't care what you think. And that's how it should be. At the end of the day, a lot of the times people do things for the adoration and, the props from other individuals. But at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, you are only important to a select few people. At the end of the day. At the end of the day. Like, I've been an instructor, I've been in leadership, I've interacted with so many people, I've helped people. I like to think that, like, I was, made a good lasting impression for certain people. if I leave this earth, they will be sad, but they will never feel the weight of that, like people who are the most important to me. And actually having, I don't want to say that it was a near death experience because it wasn't anything like that, but my children took it as a near death experience when I had to have my brain surgery. And for them, they were just like, and we had this discussion honestly not too long ago, because I'm jumping into a career that will have me traveling on a consistent basis. And I was like, are you guys like, because Holy Spirit will talk to me. These are my children, and I should know what their fears are, what their dreams are, things that are going on in their head. And so we're having the conversation, and I'm like, okay, like, are you scared that like I won't come back? And they were like, yeah, like we were like crying, like visibly upset. And I said, you know, I've been apart from you very way longer. I've been apart from you for like a month and a half. Like long times. Just going on different work trips and everything like that. But that situation struck them to the core that when I went into the hospital, and I was in the hospital for, I want to say I was in the hospital, if not for a week, maybe 2 weeks. I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, I think it was 2 weeks. I think it was almost 2 weeks, a week and a half, close to 2 weeks. That was hard for them because they're like, is she going to come back? Is she going to be here? And with that being a difficult thing for them to digest, I understand where they're coming from. And so I operate accordingly with assuring my children and everything like that. Because at the end of the day, I make this podcast. I want to help other people. I know that this platform is going to be used in a wonderful way. But if my children don't think highly of me, it's all for naught. Like, if they don't think I'm like thebomb.com, then it's all for naught. Like, if they don't think I'm the bee's knees, child, it's all for naught. And a lot of people don't think that way. They chase the accolades for people. One of the things I love in the Bible, and I live my life this way, God is not a respecter of persons. Whatever he can do for Eric Thomas, whatever he could do for Jeff Bezos, whatever he could do for Elon Musk, whatever he could do for the family that created, Dubai, he can do that for each and every one of us. Because he owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. Okay? God is not lacking. And that's one of the things that I live my life in, not being a respecter of person. So not being like, oh, this person walked in, so let me, I might scream a little bit if I go to a concert and I see a celebrity or something like that. But it's not giving the same, because they're a person just like me who followed their dream, and they have amassed a certain notoriety. I too am a person who's following my dreams and is trying to gain a certain notoriety. But my children's notoriety is the one that means the most to me. So, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and go into my results. So, I call it the DISC assessment because that's what was known as when I initially took it, but now it is the pilot assessment, or the flight assessment, I'm sorry. And with the flight assessment, they break the different groupings into 4 groupings, right? So you have the pilot. So this category determines one's tendency in solving problems, making decisions with little or no time to think about it, what you are doing instinctively. How do you approach problems and make decisions? Then we have the grounds crew. These individuals who identify strongly with this group prefer a steady pace and workflow within any given environment. They are usually natural supporters within a team dynamic. They prefer a slower pace and require additional time to adapt to change. Then we have the air traffic control. This segment measures one's tendency to deal with rules, protocols, standards, and procedures. These individuals are typically systematic in their approach to everything. And then we have the flight attendant. This is an area of a person's preference for interacting with others and expressing emotions. Individuals who measure high in this spectrum have naturally outgoing dispositions. So that is the flight assessment. This is a assessment that does have a cost associated with it. So there's that. So we're going to go into my scores. So like I was saying before, this one gives you two scales. So you have your natural and then your adaptive, and they do a comparison of it. One of the things that, there's certain things where I'm like, I find out about myself and I'm like, oh, Jesus. And then there's certain things that I'm like, that's what's up. That's what's up. What I loved about this one is the fact that I am very much the same, whether I am my natural or my adaptive. I'm pretty the same, just on a different level, should I say. So for the D.I.S.C assessment, we are a D. So for a D in my natural, so my natural would be, well, I should probably tell you what these D's are. So D means that I'm decisive. So I prefer problem solving. And then interactive is my preference for interacting with others, showing emotions. That's an I. Stability is my preference for pacing and steadiness. And then C is for my preference of standards and protocols. So they're still the same, but they talk about their, like the D.I.S.C is still the same as a flight assessment. They just talk about it in a different way. Makes it a little bit easier for everybody to understand. So that is the D.I.S.C. For my decisiveness, in my natural self, I'm a 67. Okay. For my interactive, I am a 67. Okay. For my stability, I am a 46. And for my cautious, I am a 46. With these scores, I am a pilot. I am a D. I am a D. I'm a D. A little bit of, and then I'm a D, and you might be like, hey, but you matched up. Like you're decisive and you're interactive. Like those numbers were the same. So like you fall, you're kind of both. Here's what I'm gauging it off. So we had our natural, who I am, my adaptive, how I behave while I'm being observed, or when I am aware of my behavior. So my D score is a 56. My I score, a 53. Okay. Ooh, excuse me. My S score is a 32. And then my C, which is my cautious, is a 53. And still, I am a D because of that alone. So who I am naturally, who I am adaptively, it is very, very much the same. So we're going to go over the elements of this D.I.S.C index. I do want to preface this by saying that these assessments don't ask you straight up questions that you think a test will ask you, like what's your favorite color, what does red make you think of. Like it's not asking you questions like that. They're literally questions that you think don't have anything to do with anything, and you're like wondering how are they going to give me an answer from the stuff that they're asking, but you will very much get an answer. So we have the elements of the DISC index. So it is constructed in a precise manner to allow ease for your response even in the midst of difficult decisions. This intuitive interface allows you to focus on your answers, not the process. Also, unlike other DISC instruments, this instrument allows you to rank all four Instead, as a result, the instrument produces zero waste in response. Some instruments ask you to choose 2 items out of 4 and leave 2 items blank. This instrument has 50% waste of terms and do not provide an efficient response process. The DISC index instrument eliminates the response problem. So, here's a closer look at the 4 components of my behavioral style. Decisive, problems, how you tend to approach and make decisions. I would be, as a high D, I am demanding. I know this about myself. Driving, forceful, daring, determined. And then as a high I, interactive, how I am with people and others' opinions. I'm gregarious, I'm persuasive, inspiring, enthusiastic, sociable, poised. And then, and stabilizing, what is my pace? How do I tend to pace things in my environment? Because I am a low I, this would be spontaneous, chaotic, active, restless, outgoing. And then as far as caution, so my preference to establish protocols and standards, it's no surprise, I am a low C. And that means that I am challenging. I'm careless, rebellious, independent. Those are all very much myself. Kind of need to work on that. So as far as where I sit on the behavioral scale, I am more extrovert than I am introvert. So if you watch the Myers-Briggs one, it actually said that I am more introverted. But I did tell you guys that with that score, it was a slight. It wasn't a straight up. I was slightly a little bit more introvert than extrovert. So, my decisiveness. So, this is a high score doesn't mean good and a low score doesn't mean bad. It is just a spectrum. Okay? So, higher D's tend to tend to solve new problems very quickly and assertively. They take an active and direct approach to obtaining results. The key here is new problems, such as those that are unprecedented or haven't happened before. For a lower D, they tend to solve new problems in a more deliberate, controlled, organized manner. Again, the key here is in a new, unprecedented problem solving. So for myself, because I am moderately high on the spectrum, I can be a risk taker. Adventurous. I tend to be very decisive about problems, options, and new directions to take. My decision-making style is rapid, straightforward one. I would rather focus on the big picture and not on the details, which I can view as a minutia. I desire freedom from having to deal with detail. It restrains my effectiveness. And that's very much myself. As far as my approaching with people, I did score moderately high. And so it says that I can be pretty disorganized and lack great attention to detail, which is not entirely wrong, right? Because it said the same thing about my D. Like being decisive. It's, literally the same thing. They're two and two together, it's not good. Um, you like to have an open door policy with both peers and supervisors. You tend to be always ready to converse with a group, even with people you just met. You take an effective coach or counselor for others on a team. You bring a definite optimistic attitude to projects and tasks, and you tend to naturally trust others and their ideas. Okay? So now we have the stabilizing. And so I have a low score as far as stabilizing. So what does this say? Okay? So it says that you respect the established ways but are open to change when it's deemed necessary. So true. You like being mobile and on the go, but you like a home base to return to from time to time. Also very true. I do like a little bit of mixture. Um, Unexpected events don't drive you crazy. They can be something of a welcome change. They don't bother me actually. I do welcome change. I do see things as like challenges. So I will be a person that's kind of like, come on, what else? Um, you are flexible enough to deal with change openly and without fear. You can multitask very well, and I can. You appreciate the need of others to have more freedom and less structure. And then for the C, which is cautious, you are flexible enough to work with or without a lot of structure or order. And that is like me to a T. Like, I tell people, like, I'm a succulent. Okay? I don't need a whole lot of watering. I don't need a whole lot of sun. But when I need what I need, better make sure you give it to me. And that's it. And I'm very easy peasy that way. So, you are persistent in trying to get a message across, even in the midst of resistance, which is very true. Like, I'm not going to back down, especially if like all signals are pointing to this thing. I'm going to keep like tapping, and I'm going to get you to give me the answer. Okay? Because I'm going to know if you're not giving me the answer, and this is why I will continually ask. And then you like taking your own way to results. You prefer to act as your own person rather than follow the norm. Very true. Like, look at me. I do what I want. Um, to you, rules are guidelines and not concrete. You are fine with change when it is clear how it will improve efficiency. So I'm okay with change. Does not bother me. Let's see where this is moving on. So it does break down like my natural pattern, which we definitely want to talk about. So I'm gonna talk about the natural patterns that I do have because this is who I am. So this is who I am when I'm under stress and everything like that. Like this is who I am. So I'm able to think quickly on my feet. I'm a strong competitor. I'm an active self-starter. I have a high level of decisiveness intel, coupled with a high influencing skills. The higher D and I traits are nearly tied. Sets high operational goals for myself and others, and expects all involved to provide 100% effort. All plotting points and score patterns indicate a very active agent who makes things happen and doesn't wait for things to happen. And it's so funny because even though I've kind of been like a little like on vacation, if you will, I've kind of been like you know, Margaritaville, but not really because I don't drink. But in my regular me being on top of it, right? I schedule my day. My days are scheduled. I know exactly when I need to go to sleep. I know exactly when I need to get to work. I know how much time or when I can fit in the gym. I know how much time and when I can fit in intentional time with my kids. If I'm dating, I know what time that I can spend time with that individual, what time I can spend time with myself, church, God, like all that. When I'm on top of it, when do I have time for budgeting? When do I have time for grocery shopping? When do I have time for this? When do I have time for that? And honestly, it works. So I'm not opposed to frameworks. They're important. But I also like a little bit of like leeway. But with my type, you give me too much leeway and I'm just out here. But I will say, I want to happen to my day. I don't want my day to happen to me. So, like, even now, I did plan my day, but my day was not planned in black and white. So I have to write the vision and make it plain. I did not do that. My plan was up here. And you know what happens when your plan is up here? You forget things. So there is something that I wanted to do today that now I have to push off tomorrow because I wanted to do it during a specific time of the day. And yeah, tangents. But anyways, so I have a strong orientation towards getting the project completed quickly and successfully and maximizing the performance of the team in the process. I'm able to project an image of openness and friendship to others, even while maintaining self-control and an ability to distance from others when necessary. It's already letting you know that my cutoff game is strong. It's strong. Strong, and I try not to, sometimes I have to like check myself because, luckily I am one of those people that are self-aware enough where I'm like, okay, like let me check myself, like let me see, is this warranted? And 9 times out of 10, if it comes to that point, it was deserved. Like not everybody needs access to you. I'm not the Messiah, so not everybody needs access to me. I'm able to combine both direction of others and persuasion of others into a powerful skill of inspiring others to reach their maximum potential. Hey, y'all. Hey, that's what this podcast is. And then, so they have ideas for me to be more effective. So the items below may assist you in professional development. By understanding these items, you may find explanations to why you may be stuck in some areas of your life and why other aspects give you no trouble at all. You could be more effective by remembering that not everyone shares your high sense of urgency. That's a hard one, right? Watching how you express strong emotions. Freedom from repetitive tasks, routines, or details. See, I did do that. Now I gotta get back. Okay, I be doing, because I feel like I'm wasting time, like I'm not using my time effectively. But rest is needed. But I'm not trying to be on a siesta for real. And then being a little aware of your impact on other people, especially in pressure situations. So I will say, like, yeah, sometimes I forget how influential I can be because I don't think that I'm that influential because I am very selective in who I choose to influence me. And so that's me taking for granted that everybody is that same way, but they're not. So that is something that I definitely need to be aware of. Being aware of where your authority begins and ends. This is totally true. And it's so funny because I used to be wildin', like Wile E. Coyote, like so bad. And now I'm just like, I be at work and I'm like, so I think that's a little bit out of, my realm. However, I'm just bringing awareness to you for you to decide whatever you need to decide. So knowing where it ends and begins. So opportunity for involvement with a wide variety of people, both internal and external. Opportunity for rapid learning, a broad spectrum of responsibilities and advancement. And then resisting a little your tendency to exceed your limits of authority or walk outside the established policies or rules. So do take those rules into consideration, even though it's extremely hard. So, and then they have areas of continual improvement. The trick is not to manufacture a weakness in the first place by depending on these things. So here are a few items that could be problematic for you if not acknowledged or known. Your awareness of the potentials below is your best step in making sure that you remain only potential problems due to your behavioral style. You tend to sometimes overuse ends justify the means perspective. It's very true. I'm like so like demanding, okay? That I need to chill out. I go to the gym for that to release some anger. Low interest in a project or initiative once the challenge is gone and it becomes more of a routine. Set expectations for yourself and others that are overly ambitious or unrealistic. Sometimes I do that. Be somewhat intimidated to others due to your aggressiveness and dominance. I go to the gym for that to like chill out. And it's so funny because some people are probably like, I don't see it. It will come out. I do a lot. Like now I have the green in my hair and it's like for the She-Hulk or could it be She-Go? But yeah. It's a She-Hulk in here and I'd be trying to dial her down. Holy Spirit, take the lead. Not be sensitive enough to others' needs, not be sensitive enough to others' needs. So being more sensitive to others, easily become restless or impatient with overly complex processes or slow moving work, become impatient, especially with slower moving or slower thinking people, and then become more easily angry or belligerent when under pressure or when threatened. So those would be areas of improvement. Basically just saying that I will go off. And it's very rare. Like that's something that I work really, really, really hard at. And it's a saying that my earth science teacher told me in high school, and I never like he said it like duh, like it made sense like what he was saying, but I still didn't get it, right? And he would always be like, anytime someone would get upset, he'd be like, don't let that person steal your keys. And I'd be like, what? We'd be like, what are you talking about, steal our keys? He was like, you let them steal the keys and open the door to your emotions, and you're letting them all up in your house, controlling you, tearing stuff up. Don't let them control, don't give them your keys. And that's very true. So I try very hard to control my emotions, but when they arise, it's definitely a level of justification there. Um, especially, yeah. I try to like keep the anger on lock, especially, and just knowing areas in which it's necessary. So I'm not trying to give it all away because they give you a lot of insight with this DISC assessment. So I do recommend you guys taking it because the benefit of it is huge. So it's literally breaking down a lot of things about myself, things that I know, things that I didn't know, things that I know that I should improve upon. And that's crucial. That's crucial for us to go to the next area in our lives. And my scores, I think that for my behavioral traits, they're not all that bad. Just because I am tied I, so I am a a gregarious, decisive leader, and that's awesome and that's wonderful. But there's also a caveat to both of those things, to that combination especially. It's letting me know that, hey, your attention to detail is not what it could be. But when you're in your conscious, you are very attentive to detail. And so that means that that is a muscle that I need to work on more and more each day. It doesn't mean that I'm going to have a natural ability for this thing. I'm not. As you can tell, that skill set was high adaptive. That's because I am aware of needing to be this way, which I'm like super aware when I need to be, um, when I need to be detailed oriented. And it's beneficial. It's beneficial 1,000%. And it's worth the investment. I think right now, um, the assessment comes with like a package, a bundle. It's like $147. But would it be worth it to know where you stand in areas that you can improve and work on that each day? Now, me, I just have a high level of self awareness. I just be knowing about myself, and I consciously make the decision to check myself day to day and everything like that. Like if I know that I have high standards for other people, and when they let me down, I am not about to have a conversation with you right now. Like, I just can't, because that anger is going to seep out of me. Like, even with my children, if I am upset about something else, especially something that has nothing to do with them, that is not a time for me to be a disciplinarian, because it's not fair to them, because they're going to get a brevity of forcefulness, of anger, of weightiness that does not belong to them. And that's how I navigate myself. I'm very intentional with that thing. There'll be times where, I want to go clean off, because a lot of people underestimate me, underestimate what I know, or this and that. Oh, definitely this day and age of like the rise of the narcissist and the gaslighting, like, child, they be trying it. And I'm over here like, okay, like, two can play this game, but joke's on you, because I already know. Like, I'm Jessica Fletcher up in this thing. Like, I already peeped game. You gotta be quicker than that. So anything I choose to, or anything that happens after this, it's a choice. It's a rational choice. And that's just how I am. And there's nothing wrong. It's actually my superpower. But my superpower can only get me so far. There's athletes that are naturally athletic, that are naturally just good. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if they could ever get to an Olympic level, if they just rest on their natural ability, because there's somebody who doesn't have the natural ability, but has the work ethic and is grinding the pavement just to get an inch over where you are naturally. And when they do, it's over with. So this is something that we need to approach in our life. Like, too many people are trying to put a lipstick on a pig versus, cutting the fat. And self-awareness, self-improvement, that is a fat cutting scenario that's only beneficial. Like, there's nothing detrimental that's going to happen to you if you recognize these areas in your life which you need to improve and start improving upon it. Like, there's nothing wrong with me saying, hey, because I'm not wanting to like body shaming, and I don't typically do a whole lot of like negative self-talk. It's mainly like, oh, man, I need to get in the gym, but I still be like, damn, I'm fine. Look at the fupa, and I'm still cute. Um, but it's also me being aware that I need to change my eating habits. I need to change my activity level. I need to do things to improve myself, because health is a focus. Fitness is a focus. Like I've said before, the 5 pillars, Jamal King, the 5 pillars, faith, family, finance, fitness. He says, what does he say? freedom, I say future. Okay? And those things are important. I can't say that these things are important and not put the action behind it. And so that's what I mean about, that's what standing on business means to me. Like, don't say something, do it. We're going to end the podcast this way. I said, I think on another podcast, and, Lil Wayne said it best. Real G's move in silence like the G in lasagna. And that's how this year needs to be. It is, I'm in the lab focused on what I have to do, and I'm a sniper. And when the hit is hit, they don't even know. And that's it. I have to be that diligent in what I'm trying to do. So, like I said before, we have survived 100% of the things that were sent to break us. We've gone through those things and we've come out the other side to this juncture in our life. And now it is time to continue the journey of growth. Until next time, this has been another episode of the From Her View podcast. Bye.